Enter the void. Empty and become wind. Empty and become wind.
How were you able to control that spirit when no one else could?
As your father could tell you, I have spent my life studying the spirits and learning their ways. All of this knowledge is lost in the South, but I could teach you everything I know.
Revealing the unseen mysteries when everything ain't what it seems. It'll blow your mind outside you seek. You find the realms of possibilities. Connect with the infinite intellect to receive of the positive energy. Reciting the sacred mantras to lift you to higher frequencies. Archives and constellations, star signs. When the planets align, new paradigms and paralyzed. From the visit of the succubus at nighttime. Hypnotized sometimes when the watchers flying to the sunrise. It'll set you free from the unbelief. It'll break your mind from the confines. Spirits leaving, changing seasons. Principalities undefeated over a certain region. Shamanic novice with knowledge, commune with higher beings with a deeper meaning. The reason Solomonic magic in Jesus was accused of channeling demons. I'm thrown off sort of this portal to the paranormal. Hearing these voices speaking to me when spirit touches immortal. With a knife in my back and I bleed through the scars. As I am, you see through my flaws. Staring at the stars and the rhythm wars. Never open at the doors of the Ouija board.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Here. Enter the void.
Enter the ritual, step in the temple, connect with the spiritual realm. Metaphysical to the etherical pathways beyond the physical world. You could ascend to the kingdom of heaven or sit and stay living in hell. Mystical with the dark, a lyrical shaman lifting a spell. Witness the miracle traveling beyond the body, see this is a shell. And you in the third dimensional prism that got us imprisoned in cells. Sit between 4 and 20 elders, the split into 12s. Shh, you can hear them whispering if you listen it well. Came to awaken the ancient of days, man I stay ringing the bell. Mythical note from the place where the wicked fell back to the kingdom of hell. Blessed with the wisdom performing the exorcism, the sins get expelled. So we are the demons and angels, balance the energies within yourself. I'm trying to find a path between the light and the dark. I'm writing to spark a link between the mind and the heart. We gotta unite both sides before they divide us apart. Said we gotta unite both sides before they divide us apart.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Into the void.
Now I'm good with nothing. Why y'all good for nothing? My 100,000 pedal loaders, dopamine over flooded. Stargate runnings, dragons out the dungeon. My Hakali been summoned. Total destruction into a vacuum suction. Conjunction, junction, that's my function. Through a star cluster in a maritime custom. Stellar dust encrusted, I ain't touching your disgusting judgments. We rise above it, enjoying the void. Source of pure joy, no more discussion.
So once you get to the South Pole, then what happens?
You will open an ancient spirit portal.
I'm sorry, what now?
At the South Pole, there is a portal that connects our world to the spirit world. But it has long been closed.
And that's why the evil spirits are attacking?
There are no evil spirits. There's light and dark in them all. And when they're unbalanced, the darkness takes over. If you can open the portal in time, balance will be restored.
What do you mean, in time?
There's a reason the Glacier Spirits Festival ends on the winter solstice. And that's when the spirit world and the physical world are close together. Only then can the Avatar open the portal.
The winter solstice is tomorrow.
Exactly. And we can't afford to wait another year.
Traveling the path where the past is destroyed. Arrive at 0 point, enter the void. This is fractal math, holographically enjoy. Darkness we can't avoid, enter the void. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Everything disappear right now, right here. Into the void.
I found true freedom. I am no longer bound to this earth by worldly desires. I have entered the void.
There we go. I was sitting in a pause, like, okay, when is this gonna pop up again? There we go. Welcome, everyone, once again to Our Daily Magic. This is a magical co-created group in which our mission collectively together is to allow people the space to unleash their magic. We have our own unique magic within us, and sometimes we just need a little bit of assistance to unleash it even deeper or even to just discover it. So what we have on our podcast is these conversations with magical beings who showcase their own magic, talk about how they discovered their magic. So that way you can find a tool that resonates with you in your own journey. I am one half of the magical co-host, Dell, and
my name is Kai, and for those of you who don't know, I'm also a unicorn.
Yeah. You're a unicorn? I'm a unicorn too now. Look at that. Look at my horn.
Yeah.
Hey. I want to get my guy now. I like to do this sometimes with my guy to pop up like there you go.
So our subtitle is that you know your magic, just unleash that shit, and let's be here together and talk about it.
Pretty much. Yeah. Let's talk about it, unleash it, because not only for yourself, but it's needed for the collective, especially right now in this time of what's going on externally. We need to find our own magic and unleash this to really bring the magic on this earth together.
Yeah. And since you are magic, all you need to do is find yourself. And just be.
Wow, that was a great intro.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get into the intro.
All right, let's hit it. We have an amazing guest, Thomas Mooneagle, and let me tell you, before I even get into this list of credentials is just insane. I'm gonna do my best to keep my composure, but seriously, here we go. Thomas Mooneagle is a shamanic practitioner, an intuitive reader, a mesa carrier, an artist, a healer, a teacher, and an author. He is trained in Usui Reiki Master. He's an Usui Reiki Master, a Sifu of Southern Chinese Tai Chi, an ordained minister in the Order of Melchizedek, and initiated as a Fourth Level Andean Priest. Thomas is versed in the shamanic practices of the mesa and core shamanism, as well as transformational consciousness technologies. Ooh, can't wait to get into that.
Boy, I completely skipped over that part.
Right? And he's taught workshops and lectured on various topics, including shamanic journeying, and literally there's so much more. But I'm going to let Thomas be here with us to really presence who he is and the magic that he is embodying in the world. Hey, Thomas.
Sound kind of gay.
Who he is.
Who he is.
Who he be. Welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. As I'm listening to the intro music, I'm like, oh my God, that's like my song.
Right?
Yeah.
I like the lyrics are pouring, because I've got the headphones in for the podcast, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, did they just say that? I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. And shout out to Truth Seeker,
yeah,
our friend who amazing album. He was actually sharing on a live that we did of this story of this. Pretty much he was rapping about what he was discovering and talking about the void and talking about the stargates. And he said what happened after he wrote the song was higher dimensional beings came to him and said, oh, so you're rapping about stargates, huh? let's show you some real stargates. And he's like, whoa, they took him on a nice little journey. But yeah, the way that he expressed, and that's another person who will be a guest later on this year, his magic and that way of flowing. And that's the first question we love to ask our guests to start off with, because we see the words for all these different modalities that incorporate who you are. But the question is, who are you, and how did you discover your magic? How did it begin for you that made you to get all these things?
The origin story.
Origin story. Yeah, the origin.
And like in superhero movies, I always feel like the origin story movie is usually the better ones. Like in the second movie is kind of like, eh. Sometimes the third movie's that, you know, good, but you know, for me, when I was, you know, I would just believe stuff. If you told me as a child, I would just, you know, like many people, but I took things very literally. To the point where it was almost frustrating for my parents, but then also like really, you know, nice, because like they say, don't talk to strangers, don't go with this person, never go with somebody we don't tell. And, you know, I remember being a little child and they said, you know, so-and-so's mother's going to come and take you and pick you up and you're going to go to their house. And then their father came. And because they say you never go with somebody we didn't tell you to go with, I wouldn't go with them. And it was really frustrating because they had to call them from work to come and get me. But then they couldn't be mad at me because I just did exactly what they told me to do, which is a couple times to save my life, you know, and different things. But I always had a fascination, you know, first with fairy tales when I was a child, then with like ghost stories growing up. Then when you hit adolescence and, you know, your angst starts coming in, you start to see the world and see the cracks in the world and see where you don't fit. You know, so a lot of the initial stuff that I did was born out of, you know, the pain of not belonging. And then looking for meaning. So, you know, my first sort of foray was dreams. I'd always had a vivid dream life. And I have decades of dream journals. Which no one else can read because of my handwriting, which is be nice. So like when I'm dead, no one can go back and go, oh man, he was messed up. You know,
you're a lefty.
No, I'm not. Am I a lefty, or is it just reversed on the screen? I'm actually right-handed, but
okay, just checking.
I do have relatives that are left-handed, and I apparently hold my writing utensil like a lefty, but with my right hand.
Whoa, got it.
But then I also do clay work, so pottery. And when you work on a potter's wheel, your left hand is the hand. It is the hand that centers. It's the hand that opens. It is the hand that shapes. And, you know, I can't tell you, this hand was so happy to finally have something to do.
Yeah. Instead of saying for this one.
Yeah. Sorry, I get real. I can like go tangential really quick with any question. And I'll try and answer. So yeah, dreams from that I transitioned into because I was very unhappy. Like I said, didn't belong. I got a tarot deck. I thought I would read my future and see if it got better. I looked at it. Looked like it was going to be a lot more rocky before it got any better, and I just decided to read for everybody else because. For those of you who are starting out and you read your own, it's just really hard to look at your own future with neutrality. Let's put it that way: a neutral eye, detached eye. So it's or to read for a relative that you're really concerned about, someone who's really close to your heart, your partner, your child. You know, it's just really hard to read for people that you're so close to. It's easier to read for strangers a lot of times.
I want to like pause real quick because you're talking about a very interesting part right there that I wanted to dive more into. And Kai's a fellow reader as well. And this the thing that it started making me laugh is when you get a reading or you do a reading for yourself and you get that news like you're about to go through some more shit. And
yeah.
Really you're looking for that, oh, everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows and stuff like that. And it just brought a point to me. I talked to you about this. Was it last week? And it was for me, like after I dealt with a recent breakup, I went to like the readers to get the readings, and I was I was demanding, expecting to hear like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna get back with this person. It's gonna be all rainbow. It's all part of the process." And I kept getting the readings of like, "No, it's not happening. No, let it go. No, let it go. No, let." I was like, I'm gonna keep getting readings until I get this answer that I want. So I mentioned that, but also I was thinking about giving the readings for somebody else that you deeply care about.
Yeah.
Just how much like of telling somebody what it is and speaking that truth, even if that truth is gonna obviously hurt the person, that's seems very tough to do. I'm not a reader, but like I wanted to bring that up for both of you guys. Like having those conversations with not even just with yourself, giving yourself the reading and you get those messages, but even just giving a reading for somebody that you know, somebody you care about, and the reading pretty much saying like, yo, like you got to handle your shit or like shit's going to get real. So doing that and those things come up, how do you guys deal with it?
Well, I don't ever read for family members. It's just, yeah, I can't do that. It's just, it's impossible for me to disentangle, all the stuff. Because with families, your interests are always intertwined, and it's as hard as sometimes harder than reading for myself. Because sometimes I can look at and go, okay, with myself, like, not what I wanted. This sucks. But it's different when you're doing for a family member, and particularly if a family member is coming to me, it means they're pretty desperate.
Oh man!
And I don't kick people while they're down. That's just not what you do. I mean,
yeah.
I have a couple of approaches that I've tried. That I practice. And one of them is that when I give a reading, I let people know that I don't believe in the future, that I believe in the perpetual now, and that they had all this is information so that they can make an informed decision. And then while I'm actually giving the reading, so that I'm not like imposing on anything, I read and I ask questions. I don't usually make statements. So I'll say something like, are you experiencing a bit of anxiety right now? And I'll let the person, pretty much say what's going on with them, and also we'll explore the cards together. And what it actually ended up turning into, which I am so happy about, is that now, with that approach, my family members are becoming more and more interested in reading for themselves. They've purchased cards from me. And the cards the latest deck that I designed was one with potty mouth unicorns. So like the hangman has a unicorn hanging upside down and it's saying, fuck. You look at it and it's like, you can't help but laugh. And so it's like when there's these heavy messages, it's like it's delivered with a little bit of laughter as well.
Those are great answers. Thank you.
And that reminds me of like the little cartoon of the little dog at the table and the whole room's on fire and it just says it's fine.
Yeah.
That has been like the mascot for me for the past year. Wow. How are you? I'm like, it's fine. It's fine.
It reminded me of this meme video too of the kid playing with the swings. And in the background is like this big fire going on. And you see this kid like,
yep. Yeah. I think, readings for me, there's really two purposes for a reading. I mean, one is reassurance. And the other one is like, I don't like how things are going. How do I change this? So if things are not going well and you're looking at the future and I tell people this, it's like, okay, they're like, I don't like that outcome. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's see what you need to do to change that. I mean, that's the whole, it's not fixed. It's no one's sitting here with the stone tablet, carving it in,
That's what I love. what you just said right there. And that's one of the notions that people that I know personally, they don't want to get a reading because they don't get a reading for that future of being told those type of things. And it makes total sense. It's like when you actually are getting read by someone who's reading you, they're reading you based upon the path that you're on right now. And it's sort of like a crossroads that you're at. And there's different realities and different timelines you can shift into based upon this information. And by experiencing a reading by a good reader, a real good reader, they'll let you know, like, okay, here's where you're headed right now, but you have a choice in this moment. Are you going to continue the path that you're on, or figure out or allow yourself to figure out different solutions to do to a different reality? It makes total sense because it's like with anything, like even the physical world. I've been saying for myself, and I've been working on losing weight, but I came to the realization, like, okay, my decisions leading up to this moment has me to where I'm at right now, but I can make a choice. I can continue doing what I've been doing to get me to this point, and it's going to continue on this path, or do something different that could lead me to different results. It's like one of those things that are not really openly talked about.
Right. I think so. And I think with just readings in general, it really is a synergy between the person being read and the reader. And there's responsibility on both parts there for that to happen. And on the reader's part, you have to really, create a loving space, and you have to respect the person you're reading for. And then on the recipients, thing, they have to be willing to open and be vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable thing to open yourself to be read. To be worked on even with, in healing circles too it's a different type of vulnerability, because you have, but allow yourself to be seen, and allow your choices to be seen. And a lot of us struggle with being seen because we're afraid that we're going to be judged.
Yeah.
And we even get into the rest of his journey. We're just coming back. We took this pause right here with the readings and a lot of powerful stuff. And definitely want to hear more about your journey from the readings. You started reading yourself. And then what happened?
I continued on for a bit, and then I did that for years, and then met a bunch of people who were, I guess, what you call the Western traditional ceremonial kind of magic stuff. I learned some from them. And I learned that I did not belong with that tradition at all. I had a very serious illness come out of that, and became very deathly ill. And then when I recovered from that, my energy was very different. My psychic senses were keyed up. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And when, people go for like, I want to awaken my Kundalini energy, I'm like,
I love that laugh.
You fools! No, because it was not pleasant. I mean, you can see in the background my bed. So on those sheets, that's like the quilt on the cover, but like for like months, I had a fever so high that when I would wake up in the morning, you'd see the outline of my body in salt on the sheets.
What?
Yeah. For months. It was very traumatic. But after that, that's when I started to investigate, healing, the more healing arts. And so I learned Reiki. I learned about the Wheel of the Year. I worked in a pagan store for a while. And I love the holidays, but I'm not a coven person. So it's like I tried every group, and just like, nope, still don't fit here. And then I found my shamanic teachers, which is interesting because like it's a group, but it's also very solitary. So, you know, we gather for certain things, you know, but we also we know we're all responsible for our own practice.
I love that.
And, you know, and that's because, I mean, there's something that's wonderful about working in a group, coming together. I mean, it feeds our soul. But it's also possible for us to get lost in that group and to sort of shunt our spiritual responsibility onto the group, you know, like, or seeing like, this is my connection to the infinite. And so like any sort of disagreement, any ego that gets involved, it becomes life or death for this, you know, for our identity. And, you know, my rule was then like, you know, I want to play with others, but if I want to play with others, I got to play with me first, you know, and that was kind of, you know, that, so I have a personal practice, but then I have stuff that I like to do with, you know, with people. And it's that balance. I love, like I said, the intro song, he was talking about like the balance between this and that. And I was like, everything is about the balance between the personal and the community, you know, the balance between you and the earth, between you and spirit, you know, balance between the energy of your ancestors and then the future that is unfolding at every moment. So all of these things are, people always want like a definite, I'm like, it's not a definite thing. It's about working between these two extreme skis. They're the illusion, and this is where, you know, yes, there is duality in this world. That is totally the case. And sometimes that's what needs to be happening. We need a dividing line, you know, like this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. You know, that's justice. But, you know, a lot of times people will go then to one extreme or the other and then perpetuate that cycle in their own lives, in the community, in the world. We see this a lot. We've seen this reflected a lot in the world, but it happens in our own lives too. And so in our personal conflicts, you know, we're presented choices. It's like, it's either this or this. And a lot of times we're presented with not good options on either end. I'm like, when you have bad choices on either side and you're told that these are the only two choices, I'm going to tell you it's a lie. It's an illusion. And there's usually a third choice that is neither of those things. And whenever I've like gotten to that place of, oh, it's got to be either this and this, I'm like, oh, okay. If I can stand back from that and say, there's got to be a third way that is neither of these two. And when I have been able to access that point, like, that's when really cool stuff happens.
Mel is here, by the way. She says, hey, so Mel. Happy to see Thomas on y'all's show. He's amazing. Mel was on last week.
Sweet. I was on her show a little while ago.
Wow. You see how synchronicities play out?
Right?
Yeah. I think there's been, I remember seeing years ago, someone called their school of magic the third way. And I don't think I can't remember now if it was like, but yeah, this like there's these two extremes. There's not, and again, light and dark. You know, we talk about this, and in one of the shamanic traditions I'm trained in the mesa shamanism, which comes down from the Guerrero tribe. And I know I just mispronounced that because I don't know how to pronounce the apostrophe in it, but they don't have light and dark. They don't have good and evil. They have light and heavy. So, and what I mean by that is like, you know, when your heart's light and you're happy and just like, you're moving through almost like you're dancing through your day. That's Sami. That's that wonderful juiciness of life, right? And then there's the heavy, the hucha, which is like when you feel you get that weight on your chest. And I know a lot of us know exactly what I'm talking about. When just like getting up, just going through you're just going through the motions, and then you're snappy at people. You tend to lash out when you're carrying a lot of that weight, a lot of hucha. So when somebody does something really awful, they don't say, oh, that's a bad person. They say, oh, they're carrying a lot of hucha. They're carrying a lot of that heaviness. And it's easy for us to forget. I know I've been less patient with people lately because I've been carrying a lot of hucha too. We all have.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they teach you is to eat hucha, is to eat that heavy energy and send it down into the earth. That's mulch, to send it down to the earth mother, where she eats it up like candy. And then she sends it back that renewing energy of life.
Wow.
And I'm like, I did that last night. I was like, I'm gonna take a salt bath because I need it. I'm gonna sit in the bathtub and eat hucha. And I used to joke with people as like, I'm like, hucha, it's what's for dinner. It's also what's for breakfast. It's what for lunch. It's mid-afternoon snacks, tea time, whatever. Like, there is plenty of hucha to go around. There's plenty of heavy energy for us all to eat. And then mulch it and send it down.
Yeah. We have a comment here too.
Juju.
Is Juju?
Yeah.
Juju says, yes, besides the choice of 1 and 2, there must be an unseen way 3. Yes, I was just talking about the heavy. Thank you.
The heavy. Yeah. We could just, we could name this era that we've just been going through the heavy.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The heavy. And, I remember when a lot of that started, and I would journey, and I was checking in with different spirits that I work with. And I was like, this is early on in the days, the pandemic. And I said, oh, and they said, oh, you're in the pandemic times now. And I was like,
dang.
I was like, you knew about this?
Dang.
To be fair to them, they exist outside of time. So it's like, yeah, they knew about it, but they didn't know exactly what's going up next, because next is not a concept for them. So they're just like, oh yeah, you're in that time frame now. Oh, okay. They're like,
it makes me wonder, because I'm very curious about is it my curious cat in me that like had these type of questions, because this pandemic that's going on right now, and it's caused a lot of people to lose their lives in the past year. And it makes me wonder if, like, when we all, before we even manifested in human form, we're having a discussion, like, what's about to go on for this timeline. So a bunch of people say, all right, I want to leave before, like, shit gets real. So at the beginning of it, I want to be out. I want to leave. I don't want to come. If I come back to Earth, I want to leave before shit gets real. It makes me wonder if that was, like, part of the soul contract that we signed for getting here. Like, okay, it's getting real. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, most of us write our soul contracts with we just don't look at specifics very well.
Fine print.
Fine print will get you every single time, or it's because we write it so loosely that it's just, oh, okay, or we don't think about what that statement actually means.
Right.
People who are people pleasers probably like, I want to make people happy.
Wow.
But I mean, if you really want to blow your mind, go ahead and journey or speak to the spirit of the virus and see what you get.
I had great you mentioned that. Somebody mentioned that too. Oh yeah, we had a conversation with a guest, Pierre, and like so many people are trying to fight this thing or fight the virus or fight other like these energies and stuff like that, compared to just having a conversation with it. And what he was saying is like having a conversation with a hurricane. There was a category, whatever hurricane coming to Florida or something, and a lot of people like, let's do a collective energy to blast this thing out the way and this other stuff. And what Pierre was talking about, like, why just have a conversation with it and see. And he said the conversation that he actually had with this storm that was coming, it was like, oh, I didn't know I was going to kill a lot of people on my way there. I was just coming through and doing what I'm doing. I didn't know how much damage potentially going to happen. And the trajectory of it went a different way. It's like, oh, my bad. Pretty much like, my bad.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've done some weather. There's a weather shamanism group where I live, and we until the pandemic, we met every month. We got together. We would do things where we worked with weather. And the thing about weather work in shamanism, traditionally, like in every other aspect in shamanism, you command. When you go to weather, you're like, so I don't want to be disrespectful or anything. Is there any possible way that you could maybe please do this? And is there anything I can do for you in exchange? It's very much like you're going to an elder and you're like, we are the children in that scenario. You don't go to your parents and say, we're going to do that. You like, hey mom, would it be okay if I went and stayed over at so-and-so's tonight, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's very much, you don't, and with weather, because it's the balance, right? It is the balance of the world. Storm doesn't happen here, then the seeds don't get over here, or this wildfire picks up over here. And, if you dissipate a storm, if you had that power, you don't know what kind of damage you're going to do. You don't know whose crops are going to fail because of that. You don't know what's going to happen. So weather is like energy in motion. And if it doesn't circulate correctly around the globe, it causes a whole bunch of things. So you can't just impose your will on a force that... I remember talking to a snowstorm one time that was coming a couple of years ago, when they had it on Snowmageddon, Snowpocalypse, all the major news outlets, right? And I said, is there any possible way that you could... They're like, absolutely not. We've had this planned for 6 months.
Wow.
He said, there are babies waiting to be born that are going to happen because people are trapped inside right now.
Ooh. Well, that's like with COVID too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's actually the question. Oh, go ahead, share that, because
there's a few comments I just want to presence really quick. Mela says, when I had the shingles, I was taught that I needed to be the sickness and not fight it. I had been angry, fighting it, discouraged, but then I just had to be with it. And she also says, I love that. Mulch it and send it down. That heaviness makes our footsteps so rough on the earth.
Yeah.
So, question I had as when I'm talking about this is, have you had a conversation with the COVID virus?
Oh, yes.
I'm excited. So how did that conversation go? What did you hear back from it? What messages did you receive? And what did you ask it?
See, that is the big thing. So particularly when you're going to something that you have like a sort of a negative view of, or that you're afraid of. Mm-hmm. One of the things that helped me was looking back historically at different diseases that swept through, and what was the actual long-term effect of those. So if you go back to the Middle Ages and the Black Death, killed a third of the population, a third, and most of them was the serf class in Europe, and they were not valued. They were tied to the land. They were subject to the will of the Lord, and they couldn't leave. They couldn't go to other. They were owned by the Lord and the Manor. What the Black Death did is it was more than 30% of the serfs. Well, what that meant is that there weren't enough people to work the land. So all of a sudden, the noble class had to be a lot nicer. Because if they weren't, the noble just down the road would say, hey, you know what? We'll give you extra rations if you come and stay and work our land, right? That gave rise to the Renaissance. It gave rise to the idea that people could own themselves and not be owned by a noble class. So our whole notion of personal freedom was born out of the Black Death.
Wow.
I mean, that's a big sacred purpose. I'm here to set you free. With smallpox that ravaged everyone, it led to the creation of vaccines in a sense. You know, a revolution in medicine. You know, I'm here to teach you to heal, you know. And you can just go forward with different diseases and what, you know, how that led to societal changes, how that led to a change in the human condition. So when I went to speak to them, I was like, what's your sacred purpose? You know, and that opens up, you know, because then you're saying, you're not like leveling a charge, like, why are you doing this? You're saying, hey, you know, what is the sacred purpose? What did the creator put into you to gift to the world, you know? And one of the things that struck me was how much the virus cares for the children. If you've noticed, children have not been as much affected so far that we know of by the virus. It has particularly spared them. And I asked about that. And he says, I want them to remember. I want them to remember this. To go forward. Because so much, you know, with humanity, we have a short attention span. We forget.
Right.
And it's like when I go back to that journey, I get really emotional because what it wants us to be better to each other. It wants us to, you know, take care of one another. That's what it wants us to do. It wants us to, he's like, you got to provide for your needs in a different way. And you've got to decide to take care of one another. You know, if there's anything that we've learned, it's just how interconnected our well-being is to other people. You know, we can't separate our health from other people's health. So that was the main thing is when we do that, when we decide to take care of each other, like really take care of each other, it's like, I'll be happy to merge with you. And it's like, no problem. Because, you know, in our DNA, we do have like virus DNA in ourselves that, you know, has merged with our code, has become part of us.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I forgot where I seen that at, but I said it to you before about this, how it just came out of nowhere. I mean, they say that the origin of it is in Wuhan, but just how quickly it just came out of nowhere and spread it everywhere. It was like a invisible consciousness that just spread it.
It didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, it was intended. And I don't mean by intended by people. You know, like some people say, it was intended by spirit. And I also had the message from it that she's like, I came here to prevent a war. And, you know, a war that would destroy, you know, all life. And so at that point, you can't really get mad at it. I mean,
yeah,
you can still be afraid of the effects of it. I mean, you can still like not like that part of it. But I mean, just even the trauma that it leaves behind, you know, how we feel so separate from our loved ones and that hunger that it creates in us, that hunger may actually fuel stronger communities in the future. If we go about it, if we work it the right way. If we go for the healing of the trauma rather than, you know, just the acting out of the trauma, which is easy to do.
I was about to say, i.e. the toilet paper thing that happened.
Oh my God. Now, luckily in our household, we would, you know, buy in bulk to stuff, you know, when stuff was on sale normally and just have it. So like, not like crazy buying, but you know, we get this on sale, stock it, so we'll have it for later. Then we'll wait for it's on sale and buy. And so we were okay. But I was just like, I'm looking at this. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like our faith in each other is the thing that needs to be healed the most.
Yeah. That, and also for me, what resonates is the energy of abundance, because like that, the scarcity when you're afraid in that survival mode, you hoard compared to the abundance that's available for all of us by really just working together.
Yeah. One of the things is that abundance is the natural state of the universe. Now, that doesn't mean that you have plenty all the time, you know, because that, you know, there is winter, right? You know, but so I see like abundance and prosperity as two different things. Like abundance is nature is abundant. Prosperity is how you utilize that abundance to maximize, you know, your needs and provide.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's weird to balance those two. And we have a cultural story that is way outdated. And if you look at if you just look at our stories, you know, we look at, you know, I've noticed this more and more, you know, if we look at media, and, you know, I used to think us like, you know, it's like, what does it matter what we see on it's just a story? Well, no, it's not just a story. If you are not seeing you or people like you represented positively in the cultural stories, that goes into your head, and that starts to form your own inner story about what you think is possible, what you think is right, what you think is normal. And it's very insidious. Even, I mean, and again, I don't think it's purposeful on a lot of people's, because they have the same story, right? So they don't know that they're in the story. See, people in stories don't know that they're in stories.
Wow. We just said that.
We were just talking about that yesterday.
it was like a couple hours ago.
Oh, was it today?
Yeah, we said it today. The story thing of being in the story, and you don't know you're in the story, but then all you see is things that gives you the validation that you're in the story. Of your story.
That's right.
You don't know it's a story. It's your truth.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, it's not that it's not true.
Yeah,
it's just that you could be in a different story. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the interesting about energy work and working with quantum consciousness and all that things. It's like when something you do and you're like, you have a goal and it doesn't work. That's a clue right there that you have hit up against one of your inner stories or your core beliefs, because those are invisible. And you don't know it until you come up against that invisible wall. And you're like, why didn't, you know, why didn't that work? So you have to start asking questions, you know, why doesn't this work? Why did that happen? Why did I react that way? You know?
Yeah, that curiosity about why you do what you do and believe what you believe. It opens up the infinite floodgates to really start to learn more about yourself, and even the programming that we all have, all of us. If you feel like you don't have a program, then
then you're really I almost like see that as like the little antenna popping out, the little red light. Yeah, I have no program. No. It's really, it's difficult, and, you know, it's a gradual thing, and it's like, I hit up against programming all the time. I mean, I'm human. I mean, I was brought up in a particular culture, in a particular way, particular sets of beliefs, and when you're going to have certain experiences that reinforce those. And it's really challenging, I think, to remain compassionate for yourself when you start to see some of those unveiled. And it's just like, do I really feel that way? Do I really believe that? Why do I believe that? I'm like, I don't want to believe that. I want to be that way with people, you know?
Wow, this points out another conversation that we had today, in which, like, those type of things and addressing those stuff And I was just telling her what I was doing, what I did yesterday. And I got it from just having a conversation last night of like really just allowing yourself to experience the innocence of who you really are. And the process of doing that is to just go and connect with this space that you can be able to have these conversations, let it out, and all you receive is love. Of course, if you do it on social media and let your stuff out, you're going to get all different avenues. There's people out there who are going to shame you, people are going to judge you, and also there's people out there who are going to love and support you and be thankful that you actually stepped there. But 100% guarantee for you to like let out your stuff and talk about what's going on and be loved and supported no matter what and accepted. Talk to God. And
Yeah.
and the cool thing about it is he's everywhere. She everywhere. I don't want to. Yeah, he, she, all of it.
We'll borrow the they pronoun.
Yes.
Yeah. I used to have a belief before, like the stone cold belief, like, oh, God's a man type of thing. But I'm like, wait, why? before even us, we came into this form as a human or as a man or a woman or whatever race we are. We're formless.
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't it make sense that the infinite creator of all of this is formless?
God is non-binary. Literally.
Both and neither.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh, we got a YouTube comment.
Let's read these messages. Joshua says, I recently learned about the Cherokee tribe of Native Americans that not knew palmistry, but taught it to their children. The Simeon line marked their shamans, and that marked to everyone else is Down syndrome. Interesting. Oh, not only knew, got it. They not only knew palmistry, but they found out this really cool thing too.
Okay.
That's interesting. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments, everybody. This is great.
I like what you said about innocence, because we have, there's just a misconception about power, I think. That power equals control. It doesn't. And then I've had people, say, someone once introduced me, oh, he's really powerful. And I was like, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, let me just dispel this right now. Anybody can be powerful. And I'm not. Anybody can be powerful. That's no accomplishment. I mean, it really isn't. Now, can they be helpful? I mean, but this idea that power equals control, because when I've had the most amazing, miraculous things happen for myself or in session with other people, I can guarantee you, I was not controlling any of that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then I don't know, a couple years ago, it got around, if there was something big, dark, and scary, call Thomas. And if I find whoever started that rumor, we're going to have a little conversation. It's okay now, but at the time I was really annoyed. And this whole deal, I cultivated the idea because it was helpful after all that got around. I was like, that monsters are afraid of me. And it works.
Norris.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. I was thinking more like Doctor Who. I mean, but it's not really so much that they're afraid of me. They're afraid of who I'll call in. I mean, I'm not scary. I'm like 5'5" and like 130 pounds. Yeah, I'm real scary. No. But it's like, I'm like, I don't come alone. You go with your friends, you stay with your friends, you leave with your friends, right? And I'll call in, I'll try and be reasonable. It's like, okay, you need to go. Can't stay here. This is not your person. You don't have any claim on them. You gotta go. And they get all up. I'll be like, okay, I asked you to go. You are going. And they still, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out of the way. And I'm like, hey, this person won't leave. And it's sort of like,
Wow.
9 times out of 10 that works. When it doesn't work, it means that the thing is not malevolent, and I need to talk to it and see what healing it needs, you know.
Ooh. Wow. I was just about to ask you about that. What was that 1 out of 10? I thought it was like gonna be something like
that. 1 out of 10 is when it does not really mean harm. It actually cares for the person that it's around.
Yeah.
And it has a misguided belief that if it stays merged with the person or in their life, that it is helping and is protecting them. And you can't pull that out because that's coming from a place of love, and that you just can't force that out. You have to reason with it and say, okay, you really want to take care of this person? Then you need to move on into spirit, and you can watch them from there, and you can be way more protective of them. You can set things up from them from that way in a much better way. And it takes a while, you know. They're like, maybe it's like, just let loose. But I'll never forget the time when the one time, what I call cowboy shamanism was just like, extract first, ask questions later, you know.
I love that.
Because I'm like, I want to save time. I'm like, I don't need to talk to every little entity that comes in here. I don't want to. I mean, you don't belong, you don't belong. And I'll make sure you get where you need to go. But I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation with you. But sometimes you need to. And this was one of those times. And I would pull on the energy, and it would yank the person's limb. It was like they were puppeting them almost. When it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And I found out later that it was an ancestor that had merged with them as a child, like a very young child, like 3 or 4 years old, like saw this and must have reminded them of one of their children or something. And they decided they were going to protect this child. And so their energy was so intertwined with that. Yeah, there was no pulling that out. So we had to convince it to go. We had to say, hey, if you really want to take care of this person, you need to do it sitting by the Creator in spirit, you know. And that's what finally convinced it, you know, to unravel and go. But yeah, I mean, there's, again, you know, I tried force didn't work. So this idea of control, I have, over the last year, I've probably gotten very vocal with people and very, very obstinate and confrontational about this idea of manifesting and that we're always in control of what we meant. I'm like, no. Because I think the last year has taught us anything. We're not in control. You know, how did you attract this? Well, I certainly didn't plan on attracting a pandemic. You know, it was not in my consciousness that was going to happen, right?
Can you imagine one person had the pandemic on their vision board?
I'm going to read some more comments from Josh. Josh says that, you know, the headline that runs all the way across the palm, but also has a love line, equals fragile times the Down syndrome, which is a super sensitivity. And he says, my curiosity was why no one knew about the simian line marking a psychic. Down syndrome babies were normally institutionalized or aborted, and making it known so that they aren't discarded anymore. That's big.
Yeah, man.
Now, of course, we're all looking at our palms, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, sorry. I was like, I'm on a podcast. I can look at my hands later. But I mean, it's very, you know, what we've done. I mean, it's interesting. You know, I look at, you know, because we took care of my grandmother for like 11 years. You know, she died when she was 98.
Wow.
And she was with it until those last couple months, right? and just how they talked about other people, who were a little different, right? It was like, yeah, he was, this old little thing, but that was just how they were. I mean, and that was that phrase, that was just how they are. And now we're like, oh, that's just odd. They're not well adjusted. They're not, socialized. They're not this or that, and I'm listening how I talk to myself. I'm going, because I'm weird. I mean, I know I'm weird, and that's supposed to be okay, right? But part of the socialized part of me is going, you need to be adjusted and react this way and be like this and be comfortable with all this and that. And I'm like, do I though? I mean, do I? And at the same time, this is a generation that would institutionalize certain stretches of people and write people off. And we have people who are, neuroatypical.
Mm-hmm.
That now with some of our tech, I knew someone that they never spoke, but then they got their smartphone, they text back and forth endlessly with family members. It's just the speaking part, right? And they were brilliant in mathematics. And so this idea that there is a singular mold that we are cut from, cast in, and that is the right mold, is kind of ridiculous. And the problems that we face as a species, as a world, are so vast and so myriad and interlaced that there is no one consciousness or one approach that is going to help. It takes different visions. And that does not invalidate one person's vision. It's like, you might be able to solve this problem. You are not equipped to solve this problem. And I think there's a wounding of the self that a lot of us have, that if we're not, center stage and helping to solve everything, that we're somehow invalid. And if we can get past that, that allows the space for us to hear other people that are not our voice. I'm good at some things. I suck at other things.
Yeah.
Right. That's how we go from neural atypical to, I've heard the term neurodiverse.
That's better. See, I'm not up on all the terms.
Yeah. Just imagine like just how that feels, or this notion, this belief of, I don't have to be the best at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's something that I'm really good at. What if that's all you need to focus on? Like the stuff that you're really good at. And of course, if you want to learn the stuff you're not so good at, you totally can. And I just did a video on this too, of receiving help for like those type of things. We can always try to do these things that we're not so good at, or try to figure it out. It's going to take so much time and so much like effort and energy to really like do that, compared to just connecting with somebody who's an expert in what you're looking to get or looking to learn more about, and do it that way. It makes it more effortless, and how co-creations like that and synergies make things a whole lot more effortless compared to trying to do it all by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, this may seem unrelated, but it is sort of, I mean, because I've been socially isolated, I'm like, I need some leisure. I got together a group of friends and we've been playing Dungeons and Dragons online.
Nice.
So if you want to talk about neurodivergence, right? I mean, the party system, that they have in that, was like everybody is a certain class. Like you're a cleric, you're a rogue, you're a ranger, you're this, that. You're good at some, you're really good at some things, you're okay at others, you suck at some other things. But if you have a diverse party, you're covered, you're good. You've got somebody who can be up front. You can have someone who can talk and be diplomatic. You got somebody who can heal. You got someone who can be protective, who can slay the beasts, right?
Yeah.
And you got some that are good at investigating. So it's just sort of the adventuring party idea of how we look at how we tackle problems is sort of like, okay, what's my piece in this? What am I good at? Where can I help? And then when it's not your turn, you step back.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Just imagine everybody doing what they're best at or really good at. And that's
Yeah.
collectively. If you're not
Yeah.
good at it.
But we don't do that, unfortunately, in our society. We try. We're like, we need, people to be. I mean, if you look at our education system, it was designed for factory workers, and there's nothing wrong with being a factory worker. But most of us are not going to be factory workers now. I mean, so we need something that's like, if you're a factory worker, you should follow this educational track. If you're good at this, we need to educate you on this track. But we're not really, it takes time and effort to find your thing. Some people are lucky, they find it immediately. They just go right to it. Most of us aren't. I mean, most of us take a little encouragement, and most of us take, time to find what our gifts are. And if we're not given the opportunity, we may believe that we don't have any gifts.
Right.
And I'm going to tell everybody out there, you have a spiritual gift. Now, Hollywood has unfortunately made it seem like all spiritual gifts come with, fireworks and special effects. They don't always do that. Sometimes your spiritual gift will be knowing just what to say to put people at ease. If you don't think that's a spiritual gift, I would like to just correct you on that. It is a spiritual gift to be able to do that, because it creates a space that is safe. It creates a space where no entity can enter that is not in the same vibration of that. Some people can bake, and if you've not had some baked goods from a loved one that just, it makes the day, right? We have, on Christmas morning, we have scones every year, and they are that good. They have become Christmas morning. I mean,
shout out to my mom's fried Oreos from this past weekend.
Yep. I mean, again, it's a story. We have a story that spiritual gifts looks like I can see the future. I can touch something and know where it's been. I can do this. I can astral travel. And those are spiritual gifts. They are. But those aren't the only ones, If you can make people laugh, I mean, that's a spiritual gift. I mean, if you can make me laugh these days, yeah, that's good. I mean, you're powerful. There you go.
And shout outs to Kyle Cease. I was about to say that because Kyle Cease is a former comedian who now uses spiritual transformation in a form of comedy. So his own unique way of bridging his journey and using it as a way of serving humanity. And he's funny as hell. So
and JP Sears too.
JP Sears. Oh, yeah. JP Sears.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, reorganizing around like ideas like joy, wisdom, compassion, and seeing, that is at the heart of most of the different gifts. Healing, clarity, and that allows a more amorphous, less defined, and people, think, oh, is that not, don't you want to be? I was like, no, you don't, because then you limit it. It can only be this. If it's not this, then it doesn't count, right? You go into the void, it's sort of like all is possible.
That's a great way of closing.
Because we could talk forever.
Yeah.
This is so good.
Yeah. Well, I'm like right there. Boom.
Wait. Okay, say it again.
What am I saying?
Part?
No, say boom.
Oh, boom.
Had to. to.
We gotta get like a unicorn dropping a mic type of thing.
Oh yes, absolutely.
That'd be pretty cool.
Mhm.
Oh, have you seen the one with the cat riding the unicorn?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a gif of one like running on the ring, and it's like,
Yeah.
Did you do this on purpose?
Oh yeah.
oh.
How perfect. And we have just one more comment. Joshua says, interesting discovery is that the action of palming a basketball puts a headline in the palm that runs all the way across. And it also creates lines from the moon, which help astral travel. So he's saying anyone that's interested in shamanism should Google Parakeet. And he said, I like how they check a baby's palm looking for their shamans. Other shamans would come raise the next generation. He fell in love with it. And what's great, Thomas, is that, you know, just the word shamanism or shaman, you know, it creates a space, around it. And it just like, it impacts people in so many different ways. And clearly Josh is impacted just by your presence.
Oh yeah.
Well, anybody can learn to have a relationship with spirit and can learn to journey and interact with their own, and it's something that is the world over. It is the original spirituality of all peoples. Like even the religions, all of them initially started with that idea of shamanic interaction, the interaction with spirit. So it is in all of our DNA. And we seek, beings seek answers. We seek knowing. We seek to touch what we cannot even know. We're looking for that unseen, that meaning behind the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's in us. We have this capacity for curiosity and wonder.
Yeah. Heard. Thomas, where can we find you?
Google. No.
Right?
You can find almost anything on the Google. Well, I'm on YouTube. I've got 2 channels, one that does healing videos and one that is more instructional for like Tai Chi, which I started this year. And I've got a website as well. And I've got all my links up there. I've got a patron community too on Patreon for folks that want to get involved in some of my weekly ceremonies and monthly events. So I'm about the web.
Sweet. Got it. So is it thomasmooneagle.com?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, let's make sure that that's up there for anyone who is interested. Boom.
Oh, there I see it.
Awesome. Like, can't thank you enough for
It's been great.
to come on here, share your magic, and just to speak authentically from who you are. This is great.
Yeah. A lot of beautiful nuggets.
Yes. Please come back anytime.
Yeah.
Sure. As long as you're not tired of me, I'll come back.
Oh no.
There's so many directions we could go.
I know. I was like, oh, we're not going to get to talk about that. I was like, that's okay. Well, this is where it's going to go today. It's all right.
Totally. And thank you everyone who's watching and who shared your comments and who shared this stream with your community. We appreciate you. We see you. And we invite you to keep coming back for more magical conversations.
Yeah.
And with that,
stay magical.
Yeah.